including all of this. I'll be joined in the kitchen by a singer whose discos have kept the nation dancing during lockdown. And it's Sophie Ellis-Bextor will be here. To kitchen disco for my kitchen stool. It's the brilliant Sophie Ellis-Bextor! Now, good to have you back. I've got yourself a nice little glass of wine because I'm going to do a little chicken Kiev for you. I know what you like as well. So we're going to do a wonderful little chicken Kiev. I'm going to get on and do the garlic butter first, and then we're going to chat to you about what you've been up to. But I've got some beautiful little garlic over here. I'm just going to roast this garlic. And it's really simple. All you've got to do with this is just remove it like that. And what you want to do with the garlic is just trim off the tops like that. Just cut out the top bit of the garlic. That's all you want to do. So, and when you do this, I mean, do plenty as well, because it'll last in the fridge as well. So you take your garlic like that, lose that bit, and then just take some tin foil and pop this on here. A little bit of oil. I'm just going to use veg oil for this. You can use olive oil if you want, but just a little bit of oil. And then set the oven about 180 degrees, about 350. Take the whole lot and pop it in the oven for about 45 minutes. And you get this amazing soft roast garlic. And this this is what you end up with, really, once it's roasted. And you squeeze it all out and you get this amazing soft garlic, which is delicious with the Kiev. We've got some butter in here, a little bit of parsley. I'm going to blend all this lot up to make my nice little bit of garlic butter to go with our chicken. I'm going to show you how to prepare the chicken in a second, but I'll just chop up the little bit of parsley. But like I said, I mean, the music industry, I mean, that, like the food industry, like that, I mean, like everywhere, really. I mean, that's been devastated, really, for you, because you know, the music was tough enough, let alone in the business, but then to not go out and tour must have been really hard hit, and not know when you can go back again. That's the weird thing, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. All those things have been really relevant this year. And I suppose it's sort of twofold, really, because you've got the fact that my husband is a musician too. So for both of us, we've been through the same thing of start of the year. We had amazingly busy diaries, loads of festivals and tours, and then suddenly come spring, everything cancelled. But actually now that we're sort of approaching winter, I'm really thinking more about all my friends and, you know, people I've made friends with along the way that work in the front of house, back of house, for doing live events. And it's really tough, actually. Because,
I mean, you've actually booked some places for next year. I suppose you have to do in terms of your management and everything. You've got to the demand must be massive for next year and the year after, because you've got to pre-book all these places.
Yeah, so I've got a tour in May, and at some point there's going to have to be a way to figure out how to do it. So, yeah, I think if I was doing it on my own, I'd probably be feeling a bit wobbly, but the fact that as an industry that's what's happening, I feel kind of... I still feel quite optimistic about it.
Well, you have to be, don't you, really? It's like I was in the restaurant business. You just got to keep going and try and diversify and try and do something else. And talking about diversifying, I mean, what's been a huge hit for you is getting involved with the kids and social media and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this has then led on to other things, because what you do with this is you just pop it in a piping bag. So I've just blended the garlic, the parsley, and the butter in there. I'm just going to put it in a piping bag and then just use this to fill our chicken as well. But explain to us what you've been up to, because this hit the internet by storm, this one, didn't it? I mean, literally hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people have seen it.
Yeah, I still find that really very surreal, because obviously, as far as Richard and I are concerned, and the kids, these little discos we ended up doing every Friday of lockdown were just, you know, the kids just saw their mum singing into the back of their dad's phone and then dressing up, and I would always do some of my songs, some covers. This kitchen disco thing sort of emerged really out of, I think, just our family's way of coping when things are quite stressful. So it was as much catharsis as an escapism, really. I always turn to music if I feel like I need a bit of a pep.
But just to show people, if you missed this, which I'm surprised you missed it, just wondered where you were, but just check this out.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favourite things. Not really, but in this world it is. Cream-coloured ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favourite things.
Yeah, what I love about that is the boys are going, Mum, you're doing it again. I'm just going to get the wolf's head, stick it on my head.
I know. But to be honest, they're not even giving me embarrassment. They're just giving me sort of apathy, which is the most insulting thing.
But then that's...
Julie Andrews, Ray. Get excited.
So I'm just going to show you just quickly to remove this chicken. What you want to do is just we're going to do this French trims. It's really quite simple. There's a little knuckle on this chicken, and you remove the chicken breast like that till it all comes out. So you want the little winglet with it as well. So you remove that off, and then what you can do to French trim this is you just trim it up like that. You remove this little winglet, which I'm going to use for a dish as well. But you just take this out. And as you remove it, you pull off the skin, and then what you can do is clean the bone. See, you've got the, well, take the skin off like this, but this bone here, you can just roll it around like that, and then just pull this bit off.
Why are you doing that rather than just buying a chicken fillet?
Because it just makes it nice and clean, you see.
No, but I mean, instead of
it's
just...
called filling in for 5 minutes on TV. You know when you do another song because the sound man's not ready? It's the same thing, all right? Don't ruin the myth, all right?
I am learning.
That's it. It's called filling in for 5 minutes. That's a chicken there. So French trim chicken breast. But then what you do is to make your little Kiev, we take the little fillet out, and then using a knife, you've got to be really careful with this, not to puncture the chicken, but it goes underneath, and you open this out into a little parcel like that. Be careful not to put the knife all the way through, and then you take this, and then you'll see it puff up, look, full of the butter.
Inflate it.
There you inflate it. Then what you do is you get your chicken, and then you plug the hole. So that fills in that little hole. Mm-hmm. And then what I'm going to do is flour, egg and breadcrumb it, and then deep fry it. And that's how you make a simple little chicken Kiev.
And I'm going to eat it.
There you go, exactly. But then from that, which we've just seen on the internet, it's given you an idea to then progress this even further, because, you know, well, tell us what you're doing with it, because you've taken it on and you've got your own album now with it all and everything else.
Yeah. So basically, when I did the first kitchen disco, I looked at Richard and I was like, this is crazy. People are going to think I've gone mad. But then the reaction we got was really lovely. And so halfway through the lockdown, probably around when we did Kitchen Disco 5 or 6, we started talking about the idea of taking it on tour. So yeah, an album's come out of it, the tours come out of it, because the Kitchen Disco meant so much to me and the family that I don't really know how I can not kind of acknowledge it, really. So it's been lovely to incorporate it.
You mentioned the fact that your family, but your husband as well, is a part of the band.
Yes.
Guitarist in the band.
Yeah, so Richard's a bass player, and that's how we met in the first place. He was in my first touring band, and then for the last few years we've been touring again together, and he's incredibly supportive of what I've been up to, so yeah. I mean, I'm also very lucky because he's very technical, because at the beginning of lockdown as well, I was so jealous of watching all these musicians who were really good at playing guitar and piano, because I'm really rubbish. So he kind of gave me the opportunity to still do the thing I love while we were cooped up together.
But anyway, you just take this chicken. I've got them deep fried, but if you are going to do this at home, the best way to do it is chill this. Put it in the fridge, chill it, get the butter nice and cold, drop the fryer down to about 160 and then deep fry it. But get this nice and cold, and I'm going to serve this with a little bit of broccoli as well. But, I mean, was the music business always the thing that you wanted to go into? Because, let's face it, with your parents, you had quite a few options of where to go and what you wanted to do. Was music always your first love, and that's what you wanted to do, or...?
When I finally ended up singing in a band in my late teens, I thought, oh my goodness, why did it take me so long to work out this is where I was headed? Because I've always loved music, I'd always loved singing. But yeah, so I was 18 when I signed my first deal, but I really felt like it smacked me in the face a little bit when I first started singing in that band. It was a band called The Audience, and I was 16 when I started, and I thought, oh, this is the thing I've been looking for up until now, because I think up until then, nothing had quite resonated in that way.
But how do you go about, I mean, because you then learned from there, you say that, 17, you signed an album, you got dropped by the record company, and then, but success came quite quickly straight afterwards. Well,
it didn't feel like it at the time, but yes.
In terms of time-wise, it
wasn't
did.
That long, but that bit where nothing was happening, I felt awful. All my girlfriends were off at uni, and then I got sent the instrumental of a song that became a big song for me called Groove Jet. And I'd gone from this indie band, and I was being sent this dance music, and I thought, why are they sending me that? I don't like dance music. There's something about the song I quite liked. I thought, yeah, I think there's something in there I can have fun with. And also the thing that was quite funny looking back is I was so mortified about the idea of dancing. I sort of performed this really quite big house track, but I never used to dance. I'd sing it like completely poker straight whenever I was singing it. So it took a long time for me to loosen up and start dancing.
Well, we're going to talk to what you're doing next and everything else in a second, but I'm just about ready to serve this now. So this is your nice little bit of broccoli, purple sprouting broccoli. That all I've done is cook this in a little bit of butter, a little bit of water, and then I've just got a nice little dressing, just a French-style dressing, which is a touch of water, some veg oil, some vinegar, and some mustard. And then the Kievs, you can then just lift these out, you see? So you've got these...
So how long did the Kievs cook for?
They take about eight minutes, something like that.
Nothing.
But you've got these nice Kievs that are full of the butter as well. And then you can grab yourself a plate. And then, you see, by cleaning this nice little bone, right, look, we'll just put a few bits of them on it. And we'll put a little bit of the...
Do it faster.
The water. That's what people have been telling me on my ear for the last 20 years. Quicker! I said, people want to see it. You know?
This looks good.
But look, that's your nice little chicken Kiev, and I'll put the rest of it on the side there. And hopefully, these guys will be on form, this camera crew. An award-winning camera crew. They haven't told me what award they actually won, but if you break this open, you'll get the money shot of the...
I'm watching. Come on.
Now, don't ruin that. That took a long time to do. Bon appetit.
I keep clapping.
Now, you've got to be careful when you cut into this, because it can go... so...
Okay, so if I go...
That's straight down the middle, that's it.
That's it.
It's,
Out there. Oh, that's okay. I can
now, would you
handle
ever go at this? Because I mean, you've got a
Yes.
house full of kids and stuff like that. You give it a
Yes.
go.
Definitely, definitely. I love chicken Kiev. I have done since I was little. So
I
yeah.
think it's one of those things. If you get it, use that little bit of chicken to plug that little gap. And I think by double pan it, you do the flour, egg, and then in the crumb, you get this glue, and I think it all sticks together. Happy with that one?
Does it make it more crispy, do you think? When
Yeah, and then roast the garlic as well.
Absolutely
Makes it
delicious.
nice and there you go. Good start.
It's
Good.
fantastic.
Right, there'll be more from Sophie a little bit later on the show. And I'm off to Goodwood House in Sussex for another one of my food adventures. But join me again after the break when Chef James Tanner will be right here with a brilliant recipe for duck. I'll see you in a bit. It's nice, isn't it?
It's really good.
Finely chop our lemongrass, because this is kind of sort of fibrous, so you've got to make sure it's nice and finely chopped to make our little paste ready as well. But I mean, so your family, I mean, just how on earth do you cook for all that lot? Because
It's just like catering each time, really. And
it is like you're doing a big catering.
Yeah. And you have to have no choice. There's one meal. I'm not running a cafe. So you can't specify what you're having.
That's it. You get what you're given, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
How would you find doing that and juggling between a family and doing your job? Because your job is notorious. You could be out on the road. You can be away working. I mean, how do you juggle that? I mean,
Well, it's the only life
you just
we know,
get used to it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's the only life we know. And the kids are... Carfest to him is every festival. What he's ever been to is Carfest, and he's like, I want to go on.
So we're just going to blend this into a nice little paste. Right, this is get that nice little paste, and then you can add things like coriander. I'm going to add more anyway, coriander, mint, and then you add the.
What kind of flavour is galangal?
Galangal is like it's like a floral ginger, if that makes sense.
So it's part of a ginger family.
Yeah, it's kind of, you need to smell it. It's more, much more floral.
Oh yes.
It's not as raw.
It's actually got kind of a lemony. Citric.
Citrusy sort of. It's not as strong, I don't think, as well. But what we're going to do is just add a little bit of normal veg oil with this and blend it to where we get a paste first of all. Because this is actually quite quick once you get to this stage. So you made your nice little paste, and then what I'm going to do is take this paste and pop it in the pan. And this is where we're actually starting to cook this. So in the pan, we add a little bit of this paste as well. We're going to add more of this oil, and then start to cook this down. And then this is where we add the rest of our ingredients in here. They've got a pan over here where I'm going to pop the noodles in as well. So these will take about 4 minutes to cook. They're going to go in there as well. Now, we mentioned the fact that you're going to be doing lots of things for next year, including your own tour and stuff like that you've got from doing this, singing in your kitchen, but you're also, hopefully, you're going to be supporting another band later on in the year.
Yeah, I've got quite a busy year with the gigs, and at the end of the year I'm supporting Steps on Tour, which should be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. My friend Peter, I used to work with back at Polydor, is their manager, so I'm hoping we're going to have a really fun time of it, actually.
That should be good. And, well, hopefully with the venues and everything else, you never know for next year. But if it all goes to plan, I mean, you're going to have an extremely busy year next year.
Yeah, and if it's not, plan A, then plan B will emerge, just like it did this year, I think in a job like mine, you've got to be a bit adaptable, and I'm very used to the fact that until I'm on stage doing something or the work's happening, anything can change at the last minute anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I've lived my life for the last 20 years anyway, so.
Is the music industry thought as what you thought it would be, or is it still?
Definitely not. No, I remember when I first went into record company when I was 18, I was so disappointed. I thought record companies were going to be really exciting, full of really happening people, and it was just really underwhelming, actually. But yeah, no, it definitely wasn't what I thought. I mean, I think if people knew what it's really like, they'd be really disappointed too.
And if that wasn't enough for next year as well, I mean, you've got a new album out as well, because this is all your favourite. How do you go and pick your favourites out of all the stuff that you've been doing?
Oh, well, tell
us about this thing, because there's a few new tracks in there as well.
Yeah, so I've done what I've called Songs from the Kitchen Disco, which is basically a collection of singles of my songs from my first album through to my 7th. Some covers, things that I chose when I was doing the kitchen disco, so stuff I haven't released before, some that's been specially recorded, a new version of Groove Jet for this year, just fun stuff. It was just really lovely to put together, and it's all coming out on vinyl, and some of those songs never came out on vinyl before, because I didn't do vinyl with my first few albums, so just from my point of view, like selfish, I'm really excited about it.
Well, just to show you, here's a track from the new album.
Speakers pumping, clear and loud. The way you move is our criteria. Let the DJ take you high, and tears of joy baptize the crowd. The golden years, the silver tears, you wore a tie like Richard Gere. I wanna get down when you spin me around. I stand on the borderline, crying at that discotheque. Crying at that discotheque.
Right, I'm just going to recap this before we talk about this. But this is your nice little prawns bubbling away nicely. We've got the mussels there, and then I've got my noodles. I'm going to bring it all up together. I'm going to then season it with the soy and the sesame and the fish sauce and the spring onions, and everything else is going to go in there as well. Now, I was playing that earlier before when I was doing a little bit of research on you, and I was thinking, where do I remember that track from? I remember that track.
Yeah,
It's quite a famous track.
Yeah, so that track's been through a few sort of versions of itself. So originally it was a song, Spacer, that was a Nile Rodgers produced track in the 70s, and then it was sampled and used by a band called Alcazar, and a song that Crying at the Discotheque. So it's a cover of that. So it's got its roots in disco, but it's kind of dancey and fun.
Right, I'm just going to then finish this off. So we've got, you can see, we've got this lovely photo. The great thing about this sort of stuff, the colours are amazing. So you've got the noodles in there, we've got fresh herbs gone in there last minute. Then we start to season it, and the seasoning comes in the form of lime. So a citrus, really. So lime, you get these amazing fresh limes in right at the last minute. Zest and juice as well, they're going to go in. So you've got the lime in there. And then this is where you get your salt and pepper. This is where you get your soy. So we need soy in there. And the saltiness comes in the form of this next one over here. This is this fish sauce. This is where you get this amazing umami sort of hit from it as well. And then sesame. Sesame always goes in right at the end. You never cook with sesame. Always a seasoning at the end. And then spring onion. So you want the spring onions cut on the little bias, almost at the end. They're going to go in as well. So they go over the top. And then we can lift all this lot across. Get yourself a bowl. And then you want some of your noodles, of course, in here. Some of the prawns, some of the mussels, some of everything, really. But
it's a really quick dish as well.
it is a quick dish. You know, I think that's the great thing about this sort of stuff. You want to keep it quick, particularly with the seafood, because the longer you cook it, the just more you're going to ruin it. But you've got all these amazing prawns. Don't forget the coconut milk is in there as well. I love dishes like this, but there you have it. There's loads of different ways of making it, but this is mine. A nice little prawn and mussel laksa. Done.
Oh, wow. What do I start with? Maybe a prawn.
Have a little taste of it.
That's delicious.
It's tasty, isn't it? It's actually smooth as well. That's the great thing, you know.
It's really zingy, just the right amount of heat.
Just right amount of heat. Nice bit of little lime in it at the end.
That is great.
Happy with that one?
Really happy.
There you go. There you go. That's all we've got time for today, sadly. A massive thank you to all my guests. Emily Davies, James Tanner, Ravneet Gill, and of course, the brilliant Sophie Ellis-Bextor!
Thank you.
That's it. See you same time, same place next Saturday morning where we'll be joined by more great chefs, more fantastic guests. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for watching. Give this a try at home. It's delicious.
I recommend it.
It's lovely, isn't it?